Alrighty, so we're going to deviate a little bit from the videos that you're watching that are for all of my classes to talking about Python specifically. So this is only for our class, CIT95. And we're going to walk through the install of Python and the VS Code extension. Now that it's a logical place to put it, which is after you've installed VS Code and Git. Okay, I am going to do this on Windows as you're watching these other videos. I am going to do it on my virtual environment, but I'm going to say a word here. If you're running on a Mac or really any operating system, it is good to know if you already have Python installed because there is a chance you could already have it. More specifically on the Mac side than on the Windows side, because Mac has some things under the hood and just some other things that are added that could already be there. Now, it's not to say you do anything different. It's just to know, right? So for me, like if I'm on my Mac side, again, before I get started on the other side, I could type Python dash version, and it would show me. Now, this is true because on my Mac, I've already installed it, but I just want you to know, all I did is I went into the terminal and I typed Python dash version to see what version I had, and it would just be good for you to know in case you ran into anything along the way. Because anytime you install something on your local system, right, anything can happen. Now, I'm going to move over to my Windows environment, and I already have my VS Code up. And I already have in that environment, I have Chrome up, and I went to the Python website, which, by the way, this is really also covered a little bit, not as detailed as I think I'm going to show you in the Udemy course that we're going to use for this class. Okay, so actually I happen to be already in the Windows install. So let me just back up and show you how I got here. I just went to python.org. And then under python.org, there's downloads. You can see all the operating systems here as of this recording. And I would say this is a good version for us to start with. If you even have version 3 in general, you're fine. But 3.85 is, as of this recording, the latest. So I'm going to download this. Now this will, oh, actually it's just downloading. If you download it, if you go here, it'll actually give you a lot of different options that you can look at. As far as if you have a 64 or if you want a gzip. So if you want a lot more detail, you could just, again, on Windows and even on Mac, just select this. And then I had already downloaded it, but when I did that, it did it again. So now that I have this on my local machine, and I'm going to go ahead and run it, and I'm just going to walk through the install so that we can together see if there's any options here we would want to think about, right? So I'm going to do this. First, let me just stop. It's the 32-bit version. It's going to install it. It's going to install it now. It's telling me where it's putting it. That's important. If I want to customize it, I can do that. I do want pip, so I'm going to leave this standard in here. I don't see any option or any issues with doing that. I am going to, and I recommend you add Python to your path. And that's so that once we get into the VS Code, and in general, it's in your path so you can run Python from other directories. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. That looks good, and I'm just going to install it. So now it's going to go through the process of saying, hey, do you want to allow this on Windows? We know this happens. And then it's going through the install. Now, the reason I want you to kind of take a pause here is that the installation and the interface with Python through idle is what he is going to do in the course. And I've already talked about this in the start here, so I'll just go over it now. I'm actually going to have you set up a more full-blown, not full-blown, it is a local development environment. And I think it's a better way to go for all the reasons of your own experience and for what you will most likely see out in the real world. And there's nothing wrong with the way he is going to, in his instruction, just use the idle. There's an idle, which is a built-in little editor to and command line built into the Python download, which is totally fine for most purposes. But in my mind and my thinking here, I would rather see you do a full install. Okay, good. New to Python, change the Python to include bypassing that. Oh, yeah. So sometimes what happens is your path can be a little long depending on all the things you have installed. I wouldn't think mine was, but I'm going to go ahead and allow that. Okay, good. Looks like I've done it. And there's some tutorials there, and I can just hit close. Okay. So now what I should have on my local system here is Python. And I can see right here it is. So I have the manuals, I have the Python application, and I have docs. So I can just run this. And actually this is idle. Sorry, this is idle. I went too quick there. So this is what you're going to see. And again, I think this is great because if you ever run into issues with coding in VS Code and the integration here, you can always go back to this environment. There is absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. Okay. And this is what you're going to see. I'm just going to iterate this again. When he, and I'm moving to my Mac side real quick just to show you because I already have it up over here, right? You're going to install Get Python here. You're going to do a quick test. He's going to talk about the text editor again. I think it's a better way to go to learn more of a full-blown IDE, which is what we're going to do. And then once you're done with all the setup required for this class, right, then you're going to actually write some of your first code. But this first part's going to look identical to what you just saw me do here. Okay, cool. All right, so again, I could do a new file here, right? Or you could just interact with it here, right? There's just a lot you can do here. Again, I consider this more of a backup option. Okay, so now that we've done this part and we know how to find it, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to VS Code. Okay, and actually, I think I'm going to do this. I'm actually going to get out of VS Code for just a second because what happens is anytime you install a new piece of software on your system, and in this case, we've installed Python. Oh, my VS Code icon went away. I'm not sure what happened there, but now I'm going to run VS Code again. And this is just generally true with command lines and any other thing that you're doing. Okay. So what I'm going to do now inside of VS, oh, it looks like VS Code updated. And trust me, that happens all the time. You're going to see this multiple times through the semester. So kind of getting used to it is a good idea. All right. So now I have, and I've been showing you this in the videos, but I'm just going to do that same thing, but on my, I'm going to do -- version here. Now, because I've done that, I can see that, and I can look at the path, but I can see that in my directory, I am using Python 8.5.3, which is the one I just installed. So it's just a way to verify. Again, on the Windows side, I could go to command line, I could go to shell and do that. Okay, so now we're going to do the last step, which is I want you to, now that you've already done some of the other work that all my classes do, and we've done the install of Python, now I want you to install the Python extension. Now, Microsoft has got the most popular and most used Python extension. How do I know that? Well, from the research I've done. And if I come in here, I look, there's 22 million people that have installed this extension. So it is definitely something that many people use. I think it is worth it because it just gives you a lot of functionality, built-in autocomplete, IntelliSense, syntax. I mean, there's just so much you can get from installing this extension. So make sure you're installing the Microsoft extension. Go ahead and hit install here. And then it will install that extension into your VS Code. And once it installs, one thing I'm going to show you, and this, again, depending on your system install, because, we're all a little unique in the way that we have things, okay? Now, this is actually the part I wanted to show you is what it's giving you a tooltip here, is you can change the Python interpreter by using the Python extension. And we've already seen that, but I'm going to show you. Actually, we haven't seen it. So let me do this. I'm going to go back here. Okay, because you're going to, in the next video, create the folder, right? I'm going to come over here, right? I'm down on the, and here's where, if you have, and again, this is good to stop and think about, if you have, especially on a Mac, but it could be true on Windows, multiple versions of Python installed, the extension for VS Code allows you to select which version. And that's helpful. Okay. There's going to be various reasons why that's going to be helpful. Okay, so that's the application specific stuff you need to do are the VS Code and installation for this. What you will do then is continue on with the folder and the cloning and the Git workflow, and then you're going to see another video from me for how I want you to submit the code along that you're going to do for the first one. Okay, I hope this helps you out. Thanks, and I'll talk to you soon.